Hi, I'm Charlie Starr. The video you are about to watch is part of my free course, How to Read a Birth Chart. Signing up is easy. Simply subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell, and shoot me an email to the address in the description box below, letting me know you want to be enrolled. I will reply with a welcome email, including the syllabus and other free course materials. Then head on over to my channel page and find the How to Read a Birth Chart free course playlist. Hit play and follow the step-by-step instructions to become a true birth chart master. And now, back to this video. Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what is astrology. We'll also answer the question, what is not astrology? Is astrology an art or a science? And do I have to be a psychic in order to read astrology? Let's get into it. Okay. So what is astrology? There's a lot actually of information there's a lot of misinformation about what is astrology out there. So this question seems really simple, but it's actually really important to ask this question and to be able to answer it accurately before we move on with the rest of the course. So what is astrology? This is my definition of astrology. Astrology is a field where the phenomenon of the correspondence between the movements of the planetary bodies and events on Earth is studied. This is a little bit different than Oxford Dictionary definition, which I think points out a common misconception about astrology. Oxford definition says the astrology is the study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs and the natural world. So the reason why I disagree with this definition is because Oxford is saying that astrology contains the belief that the planets are having an effect or causing things to happen on Earth. That is a belief somebody can have about astrology, but not all astrologers have that belief. That's getting into belief and philosophy. What astrology is, at its most basic definition, is a study of the phenomenon. The only thing that all of astrologers really agree on is that there is a phenomenon of correspondence. So if you're going to look at the activity of the planets as they appear in relation to us on Earth, and also see a connection between that and the events that happen in our lives, that connection is a correspondence. It's like a correlation. These things are happening and we're seeing a symbolic agreement between these two things. That's what astrology is. That's what astrology studies. It studies this connection, this relationship. How exactly the relationship works, whether the planets are causing the activities to happen, whether the planets are causing some things to happen, but other things we can manipulate and control, whether the planets do not cause anything to happen, but they're merely reflecting what is happening, and these events are co-occurring. This gets into philosophy and belief about astrology. But astrology itself is just acknowledging and studying the relationship, period. So I'm just going to read my definition one more time so you guys can see that difference. So astrology is a field where the phenomenon of the correspondence between movements of the planetary bodies and events on Earth is studied. Okay, number 2, what is astrology not? So astrology is not a religion. Astrology is not a philosophy, and astrology is not a belief system. As we'll see in other parts of the course, there are different philosophies and different belief systems that different astrologers have, and there are different religions that incorporate astrology. A lot of religions incorporate astrology, actually, but they're all different religions. They're just incorporating astrology or forming a religion around astrology, one or the other, or a combination of these two. So astrology is definitely a field that provokes the human mind to think about what exactly is our role in the cosmos? Who are we? What is our purpose in life? What is our role? And all of these questions lead to religion. So it's really not surprising that we have astrology woven into different religions, and that people have a lot of different beliefs and philosophies when they come to study astrology. It can become very spiritual, right? So there is a relationship that philosophy, beliefs, religion has with astrology, but that is not what astrology is. Astrology is the study of the correspondence between the celestial events and the events on Earth. That's what it is. That can or cannot fit into the framework of philosophy, belief, and religion. Okay, number 3, is astrology a science or an art? So that is a question that you're going to get a different answer based on who you're asking. If you're asking me, my answer is that I treat astrology like an art, though I'm open-minded to astrology being validated as a science. Here is why. So in ancient times, and we'll get into the history of astrology in the next video, but as astrology was forming, it formed alongside astronomy, and they were studied together. So astronomy is different than astrology because astronomy is focused on the physical, concrete expression of the planets from a position that is completely objective. So this will measure the light years between the Earth and the Sun, and it will also study the objective motions of the planets around the Sun. Astrology, on the other hand, is subjective. So astrology is studying the moving planets and the stars, but it's all completely in relation to the viewer on Earth. So it's a subjective field. It's studying how things appear, as opposed to studying how things objectively, physically are, which is astronomy. So these are differences between these two fields, and eventually caused a split between studying astrology and studying astronomy. So astronomy generally does not acknowledge correspondences between somebody's personality or somebody's relationship style or the life length of a person on Earth, or any of these other things that we can learn from astrology. Astronomy really has no interest in studying because that's astrology's field. So astronomy, I would say that if you use the concept of the scientific method to decide whether astrology is a science or an art, some people would say that astrology has been disproved as a science and is a pseudoscience, or is an art based on the fact that astrology does not follow the expectations of the scientific method. So I think that this is arguably not the case. The fact of the matter is that astrology is a language, and it's a symbolic language. And the symbolism of the planets in the sky can express themselves in a variety of ways, but the symbolism is always expressed. This makes it difficult to study from a scientific perspective because science wants to have this, you do that, this is the result. They want to have a predictable formula in science. Whereas astrology doesn't always have a predictable formula because it's symbolic. So with that being said, that doesn't mean that astrology has been disproved. It just means that astrology does not behave in the same way that astronomy behaves, and therefore it makes it harder to prove or disprove astrology. Okay, so for the reasons stated above, I treat astrology as an art. And through this course, I will be encouraging you guys to develop your own art form when it comes to astrology. However, it is important to recognize that some astrologers do view themselves as scientist in a field that is widely misunderstood, or that there's a lot of information that we still need to learn in order to graduate astrology into a scientific field that is widely accepted and recognized. Do I have to be a psychic to read a birth chart? The short answer is no. Astrology is a symbolic language, and anybody can learn to read these symbols and come up with different interpretations that apply or do not apply. So intuition obviously is helpful here, because when you're interpreting and reading symbols, it is good to have a strong intuition, but you don't need to. Anybody can memorize these symbols. Anybody can put two and two together with your logical brain and come up with astrological meanings and to understand astrology. So you don't have to be a psychic, and a lot of astrologers, they do bring to the table a strong intuition. Some of them are also tarot readers, such as myself. Some of them, read runes. Some of them are psychics. Some of them are mediums. Some work with the dead. Some do all sorts of other types of divination, or like again, in the first point, they'll bring their philosophy or their religion or their spiritual practice into astrology. Karma is a great example. Karma is a belief that a lot of people will read the effects of in the birth chart. That's somebody bringing their philosophy, their beliefs into astrology. But to think that to be an astrologer, you are necessarily a psychic or a medium or somebody who believes in karma, or like basically any of these other things, these are all like different between different astrologers. When you are looking at an astrologer, to not make assumptions that that person is psychic, that that person can see the dead, or all sorts of other ideas that people sometimes have about astrologers, that they can just know the future instinctively. Where this course is not really about predictive techniques or reading the future, but reading the future is something that astrology can symbolically do. Once again, it's symbolic, and so we're not able to predict with 100% accuracy how the planets are going to exactly express their symbolism, but we can study the symbolism in order to understand the energy that is happening in the birth chart or in the future, whatever it be, and we can predict with accuracy what types of events or energies will occur or do express themselves in somebody's birth chart. Okay, and that's it for this video.